I'm not very impressed with the 22 film ka list only. It seems like we are missing out some good titles, good films. There were movies like Kerala Story, Vaccine War. Vaccine War is going to release, but it was there.
One can think in Malayalam cinema itself, one can think of, like other films which might not have been as commercially successful as 2018, which was one of the biggest Malayalam hits of probably the decade, right? But yeah, probably could have also been in the selection list. Hello and welcome to the Indian Express. Today, I have with me award-winning film journalist Alaka Sahni. Alka has been writing with us for close to almost a decade and a half now. She reports primarily on Bollywood, and today she's here to discuss with us this year's 2020, as in the Oscar entry from India for the 2024 Oscars, which is the Malayalam film 2018. 2018 is a film based on the devastating 2018 floods that hit Kerala. About 483 people died. Some 15 people went missing. And this film chronicles the days of that devastation. Alka, firstly, your review says the film is a story of courage, of human courage and the triumph of human spirit, but it lacks nuance. If you could tell us, more about that, like, what do you think of the film?
I think as a film, 2018, everyone is a hero. Like the title suggests, it is meant to celebrate the human spirit, the extraordinary courage that commoners show at the time of devastation, which people of Kerala did, and it's based on a real life incident, and which did not also happen long ago. It's barely 4 5 years ago, and the film released, I think, in May, if I'm not mistaken. So it was good to uh, get an idea of what went wrong at that time. Um, but while I liked the theme, the idea, and the cast had almost all the names are if you watch Malayalam films, you will be familiar with almost all those actors because they are top actors of the film, Kerala film industry, like Tovino Thomas, Kunchaku Boban. So it had a very impressive cast. Um, and it very sincerely tries to tell you what happened and how the common man rose to this challenge and how they helped each other. Like it is already reported, the government help took some time to reach people, and it is the common people who helped those who were trapped, those who were in danger. The film follows that part very well. Okay, I will give credit for that. Having said that, I felt it was a typical commercial. The commercial sensibilities, tropes were there, so that were pretty evident in the film. Uh, ha- that at times becomes little. You wish those were not there. Yeah.
Having seen the film myself too, I agree with you, Alka. And I felt, one of the things that keeps coming back in discussion is, do we manage to select the right possible films for Oscars? And this film, while it had a topic that touched our heart, but was it really the best possible choice for an Oscar entry from India? Uh, because like at the end of the day, we all want a trophy in the foreign language film category, and so people keep talking about the kind of films we're selecting. So, do you think this is could there have been better films to choose this year?
Uh, Premankar, I'm a little conflicted there because just before we started talking, just little while ago, I was talking to the president of Film Federation of India, which they appoint a jury to select the films. and they had asked for entries, I think, in August, and they made the announcement today. And there was a 16-member jury headed by Girish Kasarwali to select the film. So, like you said, every time it is a hotly debated topic. Did they select the right film? But I was looking at the 22 films which according to Ravi Kotarakara, who is the president of FFI, were the 22 films which were shortlisted, and then they made the final selection. According to him, around 40 plus movies were entered, the entries they received. I don't know. I'm not very impressed with the 22 film ka list only. It seems like we are missing out some good titles, good films. There were movies like Kerala Story, Vaccine War. Vaccine War is going to release, but it was there. There was because I think that it says that the movies that release by October 31 this year are eligible to apply. Um, there was Jugato, there was Rocky or Rani Ki Kahani in the 22 movies that were selected. I don't know what they did not select, that they didn't reveal to me. Mrs. Chatterjee and versus Norway, Valvi, Baplok, these movies were there. I don't know. I felt like maybe some good movies either they did not send their entries
Yeah,
or they
I
were
think
not
that because
selected, made it to the final list.
one can think in Malayalam cinema itself, one can think of, like other films which might not have been as commercially successful as 2018, which was one of the biggest Malayalam hits of probably the decade, right? But yeah, but probably could have also been in the selection list. Like one can argue that a lot of other films could also have been. So having said that, what is the selection procedure like? As you said, a list, they ask for entries, and then what happens?
I think from what I gathered from my conversation with Mr. Ravi Kotarakara, they ask for selection, they've asked for entries, and there are some criteria that it should this much of the film should be in Indian language, the film should be subtitled. There is also a fees, I think 1,25,000 plus GST. So, and you should have a website. There are certain things that criteria that you have to fulfill, and then you have to apply, and it should have released between this period. I think for this it was December something 2022 to October 31st 2023. It should release and run for at least 1 week in an Indian theater. That is the basic criteria. So that I from what I gathered from my conversation with him, that they received a certain number of entries, then they probably selected these 22 films, then the final selection was made after the jury had discussed about the films, and they chose this one because of they thought this sends out an important message about global warming, climate change, and the kind of disaster that can happen when you are not respecting nature and not and doing illegal construction.
As someone who has written about cinema for so long and who actively watches Indian cinema of different languages, what are the other films this year you think that could have been featured in the list according to you?
I actually I'm I have not seen all the movies,
Of course.
but I don't know. I just think this year's list looks like a poor list. There is Jugato of Nandita Das, Rocky and Rani, which did commercially well, but we know it's a very
Would
typical Bollywood masala film. It's not a Oscar entry wala film. Like, so I'm at a loss, to be honest.
And going back to like hotly debated topics of films which are selected, like are it's one of the common grouses of Bengalis that a lot of Ray films would not be selected for Oscars, but and they would have actually won if had they been selected. So, some films they feel they feel as a Bengali, I also probably feel that way, emotionally wronged about this. But this has been a thing over the years, right? We keep discussing this, that lot. We don't select the right films. We don't select the right films. And what do you have to say about it? Do you think our selection procedure so far has been kind of skewed, not up to the mark?
I think we probably don't see it from the Oscar lens, how we accept it. Like we are wanting a Hollywood validation, we want American validation sitting in India. We might as well look at through their prism what they might like. Okay, I often think we forget that behind Oscar there is heavy lobbying that goes on, and there are other things that actually influence those decisions. So we kind of lose sight of those things, like when RRR lost out to Cheloso last year. RRR had I'm not getting into the merit of the films here, but I'm just saying RRR was already popular. Already people had heard so much about it. It had a very good chance of winning. So it's another issue altogether that they went on, they applied in the like anybody else can, and they got an Oscar. But in this foreign film category, Indian entries go to this particular category, the foreign film, best foreign film, like foreign language uh, category. So we could have the same thing we did when Launchbox was considered. We did not send Lunchbox, we sent something else. I think Road by Gyan. Sorry, I'm forgetting. We sent a Gujarati film called Go Road, shot in Gujarat. The thing is, launch Gyan Koraya, the director of Road. Launchbox had a very good chance because it had got a lot of foreign appreciation, and I think a big studio was behind it, so it would have been easier for us to get it. No, it's you can always debate the selection. You can always question a selection, but at times I think we should go for what seems more practical also.
It might not be that, it might be a more tricky business than we think it might be, because, the last film that actually got nominated from India was Lagan, which had all the jing bang of the Indian, like exotic Indian feel to it, right? Like, a period setting, people in Indian attire, dancing around, with all that everything that people expect, the West expect from India. And as you said, RRR too has that feel and that, the exotica reinforcement. So do you think that works? Do you think, or do you think, quieter, more more rooted in the current India stories, they work, like Lunchbox, right? Like, it's maybe that kind of stories, or should it be this kind of stories for the West, for that Oscar lens? What do you think works better?
I think any good film would work because the way we Lagan did not win, and I think a film called No Man's Land got the award. If you have watched it, it's a very powerful film set in a conflict zone, but it's a human story at the end of the day. So I don't think there was any exotica or us reason ka kuch tha. I think it's just a story. A powerful story will work, you know. So uh, um, of course, exotica probably is an added layer. It's a it might draw people in, but yeah, I think ultimately it will be the story that touches human heart.
Having said all that, 2018 is India's official entry to the Oscars this year. And we all hope that it's going to bring Oscar glory back to India. And what are the great things about the film, and what are the things that might just work for the audience, if you could tell our viewers?
First of all, I love Tovino Thomas. I love his performance because I think he's a very good actor. He brings out these vulnerabilities, the innocence. He has that. Even when he was playing superhero in Minnal Murali, he had that vulnerability, that innocence, the childlike innocence in him, which he has even in this character where he's playing a guy who quit army, but who again when he is faced with a challenge in real life, he's not quitting. He fights for people. He tries to save people. So that might work, and it's a story of. There are actually many characters. Like you said, you have watched the film. There are many characters. So it's the human story that might appeal to people. Okay, that might work in our this thing. And disaster story, they have always they had there is a I think there was a time in Hollywood when they made so many disaster films set around tornadoes and all that, hurricanes. So maybe that might work. Yeah, and maybe as a alarm bell regarding climate change, global warming. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, here's wishing the 2018 team the very best from the Indian Express team. Thank you for joining us for this conversation, Alka.
Thank you.